Hello, it's Maria Payne here, and today I will be talking about the High Middle Ages. The Middle Ages are often also called the Dark Ages. Were the Middle Ages really dark? That's what we will be talking about today. Yes, the Middle Ages had plague, famine, and lots of war, but the Middle Ages was the time between the fall of the Roman Empire and the Renaissance. So to many people, they seem dark and horrendous and not thought-provoking at all. But really, there was a lot of culture. There were still writers and philosophers and people who thought and wanted to better the world around them. As you have seen in the poll we took before the Spotlight video, many people's best years were others' worst years, and vice versa. So there are two ways of looking at every circumstance, and this is shown in the time period known as the Middle Ages. Gothic art and architecture started in France in the 12th century and moved to the rest of Europe. Gothic architecture has many distinct characteristics, such as the pointed arch, ribbed vault, and flying buttress. The architecture wasn't only used for great cathedrals and churches, but also used for town halls, castles, and palaces. During the Middle Ages, philosophers discussed the relationship of faith to reason, the existence and simplicity of God, the purpose of theology and metaphysics, and the problems of knowledge of individuals. One of the most notable philosophers was St. Thomas Aquinas. At that time, he didn't consider himself a philosopher, but today, scholars renown him for his remarkable ideas. St. Augustine was another writer during this time period. He was an early Christian philosopher whose writings helped with the development of Western Christianity and philosophy. His most important works were the Confessions of St. Augustine, City of God, and On Christian Doctrine. John Wycliffe was an English philosopher, theologian, and preacher. He was one of the first advocates for the translation of the Bible to common language. Albert of Saxony was a German philosopher who contributed to logic and philosophy during this period. His findings led to the modern theory of inertia. Theology was so popular that it was the most commonly studied subject at universities during the Middle Ages. Geoffrey Chaucer was the father of English literature and considered the greatest English poet of the Middle Ages. He is especially known today for Canterbury Tales. Chaucer was a very important figure in developing vernacular literature because England's primary literary languages were French and Latin. I hope this video put in perspective how the Middle Ages still developed very well culturally.